Hello everyone, Books with Banks back again with another video, and I was struggling a little bit with what I wanted to make this week's video. I decided I'd kind of hop on board the bandwagon with a lot of the recent mid-year freak-out tags, but really, there's nothing to freak out about. I'm having a ton of fun reading what I've chosen to read, and I think the reading gear is going along very, very nicely. If you enjoyed the video and you haven't already, please like and subscribe. Please feel free to comment to any of these prompts, any of these questions down below in the comments. I'd love to hear from all of you. But without any further ado, here we go to the 13 questions. It's 13. You'll notice a couple books or authors kind of get mentioned a number of times in here. But yeah, that's just the way these things work sometimes. So question number 1, what's the best book you've read so far this year? For me, that is pretty easily Book 2 of The Chronicles of Thomas Covenant, The Ill-Earth War by Stephen R. Donaldson. I really loved kind of how bold and different book 1 of this trilogy was, Lord Fowl's Bane, and I thought it was great, and I had a really good time with it. I don't know that I would say it was like my favorite thing ever, though. And then diving into book 2, just structurally it's so unique, and just the fantasy world continues to expand. There's a little more action, more interesting characters. I mean, a big chunk of this book isn't even really from the point of view of the protagonist, Thomas Covenant. So yeah, I don't want to spoil anything or give too much away about the series, but just how Donaldson structured this story here, and how it continued on, and I think built upon a lot of the really rich kind of thematic ground laid out in Lord Fowl's Bane. I really, really love this so far. The Ill-Earth War is pretty easily my favorite book of the year. Then, question 2, what's the best sequel I've read so far this year? So I've read a few sequels. The one I just talked about was a sequel, but I wanted to give something else a shout out. I was thinking of talking about The Dragon Republic by R.F. Kuang, this book 2 in the Poppy War trilogy, but I decided to go in a slightly different direction. Here's where I'll talk about Warhammer. I'm going to give this to False Gods, book 2 in the Horus Heresy series, and a big reason why I want to make sure to mention this and have this as my answer for this prompt is that it's a sequel written by a different author than what came before, and I'm always really intrigued and then hopefully impressed to see how they can pull it off and what new things, techniques they might add to the series. They might fill in places where maybe another author was a little weaker and vice versa, and I really thought this book did a brilliant job of that, and Graham McNeil, the author here, I think he carried on and in many ways improved a lot of the things Dan Abnett started in book 1 of the series, and it really is in large part due to this sequel right here that I am considering even more getting into the Horus Heresy tabletop gaming hobby thing. So yeah, False Gods gets best sequel read so far this year. Next up, what's a new release I haven't read yet, but I want to? So I'm going to give this one to While Darkness Gathers by Philip Chase. And I've read The Way of Adan, The Prophet of Adan, but I have not yet read Return to Adan. But those are all up there. I don't have While Darkness Gathers yet, the kind of standalone follow-up to that trilogy, but I've heard really intriguing things about the book, and I'll definitely read Return to Adan and then While Darkness Gathers, and probably if Philip writes any other stuff after that, I'll read those as well. So yeah, that's a new release that I haven't read yet, but I really want to. Next question, similar. What's the most anticipated release for the second half of the year? Probably no surprise to anyone watching my channel, but this is going to be Book 2 in Stephen Erickson's Witness series, No Life Forsaken. So excited for this. I loved what he did with Book 1 and how different it feels, and just how different it is than anything else in the Malazan, larger kind of Malazan world and collection of series. Book one there being The God Is Not Willing. So yeah, No Life Forsaken. Everything I know of or have heard about the book, about the setting where we return to characters we might see again. I'm really excited for this book to kind of get a better sense of what direction Erickson is taking us in, or taking the series in. Yeah, easily most anticipated release. Yeah. Next up, biggest disappointment. Now, this is going to be a book that I read for one of my classes. A lot of times, we'd kind of talk about what we'd expect from the different books. And this one, just looking at the synopsis and hearing what others had to say about it, I was really intrigued. I thought it sounded really promising. And this is called Lobizona. It's by Romina Garber. It's sort of a magical academy book, but also deals with issues of immigration in Florida. Really promising start, intriguing characters, but as kind of chapter by chapter, I found the book kind of falling more and more into familiar, kind of repetitive stereotypes with the characters and like archetypes, and it didn't, let's just say it didn't really wow me or give me much to work with or to like dig into on like a thematic level, or not nearly as much as I was hoping it would have. Yeah. Next up, favorite new author. Debut or new to me. This is definitely a new to me author. As mentioned before, with my favorite book, I gotta give it to my favorite new author, Stephen R. Donaldson. Yeah, just the way that he writes his fantasy world, it's beautiful, and the land is the fantasy place, and it's wondrous, and his writing is lush, and yeah. Stephen R. Donaldson, favorite new author. Newest fictional crush is a question on this list, but I don't really have one. Sorry if that's disappointing to anyone, but I haven't really come across any characters that I feel like crushing on, or, nothing like that really comes to mind. For most of these other questions, I had something like right away that pretty much jumped to my head. Newest fictional crush? Not really. It would... Yeah, it's not happening this time. Sorry. Moving on then to question number 9, newest favorite character. And this is actually a tie between characters from 2 books I've already talked about. So this is between Hyle Troy, a character in Donaldson's Ill-Earth War, or Ignis Carcassy, a character from the first few books in the Horus Heresy. So the authors responsible for him are like Dan Abnett and Graham McNeil. Now, Hyle Troy from Chronicles of Thomas Covenant. This character, I think, was a brilliant addition to book 2 of that series that, again, without saying too much, breathed like a lot of really fresh life and energy and intrigue into everything going on, gave us a really great point of view for Covenant to kind of bounce his ideas off of, and for readers to spend time. It kind of Hyle Troy sort of gives us a break from Covenant, but then it's not like Troy is a perfect individual, and yeah, there's just really, really fascinating stuff that Donaldson's doing with that character, and I think it was just the invention of the character and inclusion here, brilliant. And then Ignis Carcassy with the Warhammer stuff. Especially for those of you who haven't read Warhammer tie-in fiction, you probably expect it's a lot of action, a lot of kind of mindless sci-fi jargon, whatever, just a lot of kind of popcorn fun. That's definitely in there, but there are these characters that are like artists and poets and remembrancers and things like that. Ignis Carcassy is one of them, and they add a sort of unexpected and surprising, like pleasantly surprising dimension, kind of human and emotional dimension to a series all about war. And Ignis Carcassy, I think, was the character in that series, or kind of from that group, that does that the best. Yeah, and they also add like a level of critiquing the corrupt system from within that corrupt system. All sorts of things that I didn't necessarily expect to find in a series like that. So yeah, Hyle Troy from Thomas Covenant or Ignis Carcassy from Horus Heresy, two new favorite characters. Now, question 10, book that made you cry. I don't know if this is cheating or not. These are rereads, but really audiobooks I'm doing this time. Earlier this year, I listened to both Reaper's Gale and Toll the Hounds, books 7 and 8 of Malazan Book of the Fallen. Listened to those on audiobook, and every time I go through those books, specifically those two, I catch myself crying. Sometimes it's happy, sometimes it's tragic, but yeah, those two, listening on audio, again, both of them made me cry. Yeah. Next up, a book that made me happy. I'm going to give this one to A Psalm for the Wild Built by Becky Chambers. A really short story, mostly a story between our protagonist, just this human person making their way through the wild to try to find the sound of crickets, running into a robot, this beautiful friendship that forms, and really great discussions about why the world went the way that it did, and life and death between a machine and a human. Really, really beautiful and just optimistic, like positive sort of a vibe from this story. Highly recommend it, especially if you need a pick-me-up. A Psalm for the Wild Built. Next up, most beautiful book bought or received so far this year. I think for this one, I want to go with, and I think I just really like the type of the cover and the way that it feels and just the look of it. But Mordu by Alex Phoebe. Now, I haven't read this one yet, but I'll need to read this for a class that I have coming up here in the fall, and I'm excited to, but I really just love the kind of like a pencil kind of I really just love the type of cover that we have here and just the texture of it. I think it's really striking. I love this aesthetic. And then what do I need to read by the end of the year? So this is kind of a big, busy question, quite a bit. Well, first and foremost, I need to read everything that'll be assigned to me in my classes. Some of these I'm really, really looking forward to. Books like Piranesi by Susanna Clark, or let's see, Tales of Neverion by Samuel R. Delaney, Wizard of Earthsea by Ursula K. Le Guin, stuff like that I'll need to read for class by the end of the year, some of them a lot sooner. Other things I'd love to finish by the end of the year. I'm nearing the end of book 3 in the Poppy War trilogy, The Burning God, so I'll finish Burning God for sure. And then once I do that, then I'll pick up book 3 of the First Chronicles of Thomas Covenant. That book's called The Power That Preserves, and I'll finish that trilogy as well. Those are kind of the big ones that I absolutely need to finish by the end of the year. I already mentioned it, but I'll just throw this in there just as a reminder. No Life Forsaken by Stephen Erickson. That's going to come out near the end of the year, but I'll also probably finish it by the end of the year. And then if I do have any more time to squeeze in other reading during the school semester and between these other books I'm working through, I'll probably go one of two ways. I'll either pick up where I left off with Jenny Wirtz's Wars of Light and Shadow series with book 5, Grand Conspiracy, or I'll just read some more Horus Heresy for a bit of a mental break, a bit of a calming, more relaxing kind of a reading experience. So yeah, that's pretty much what I need to read by the end of the year. And that's my mid-year freak out tag. Let me know if you're familiar with any of these books that I talked about. Let me know what your reading's going like this year so far. Feel free to share all of that and anything else down in the comments below. Thank you all, as always, so much for watching.